Hey, Shannon. Hey, everyone.
Hey, welcome.
Good to see your face on here.
Yeah. Glad to be here.
Sorry guys, I just bought some Dogecoin and I'm staring at this thing and it's going nuts. I might be in over my head, but maybe we got to transition into an investor group after we're done with politics because some of this stuff's pretty interesting.
Most important questions: how many did you buy?
$1,000 worth.
Okay.
And it was like literally like 8 minutes ago, and I've made $175. So just, wow. I gotta be cautious though. My wife doesn't approve of this type of stuff. So
it's been going crazy for sure. I've been watching it too. It's been nuts.
I bought $400 of it in 2018 and I still have it.
Oh man. I bought 12,000 shares last year when it was really low, but 2018 would be astronomical at this point.
You guys are like flying private helicopters and stuff. Like,
I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse is, because at the time it was right at the pandemic and I had refied my one of my buildings and I actually called an investment guy and was like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. Is cash king or should I start pushing into this depressed market? And, so I did a little blend, but had I just, gone all in on the market, it would have been a different story. So I don't know which is worse, not having invested at all or not, fully putting my foot in the water. So.
Yeah, the Dogecoin is it's a little more speculative than I'm okay with just because it jumps up and down so much. But I like the crypto market a lot, VeChain. It's really good. It's fun.
Oh my God, we should definitely have like a cryptocurrency advisory council to the mayor.
Let's do it.
Like, what if we like put like a bunch of, like our economic development fund into like Dogecoin for the day and it jumps up like 40% and then we just have like an extra, $7 million to spend on something.
What if it drops?
How do we explain that to the auditor?
Channel 7, guys. Channel 7.
Right.
Hey, Alex, to answer your question, my dad told me this once. He goes, you never lost nothing by making a profit. So
Yeah, totally. But, it's like that. I've moved a bunch of stocks that, have soared, I just told myself never to look back, because
there will always be another opportunity. It'll adjust again.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, craziness. All right, we're about 3 minutes in, which means we're going to start about 2 minutes. 2 minutes earlier than usual. We usually give about a few minutes after. So if you're new to this, we do have a new member. I will welcome Ms. Stacy Ward. If you would wave, are you here?
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
All right, my name said Hopping Gnome, so that's where I'm from, but I changed it to my name because that's
so
probably easier.
You're not Hopping Gnome. Okay, yes, Stacy, that makes more sense. Welcome. And also we have Lee who's joining us. He's a guest today. I think he was someone who we might draft onto this team, but wants to get his toes wet first. So we welcome guests and thank you for being here. And do we have any other? Do we have any other new folks on at this time? As mentioned before, we are we're looking for folks who are interested in participating. So please forward any names of people who would be willing to serve a 3-month term with the prospect of being reappointed if they want to continue to serve. But let's go ahead and we'll have Stacy introduce herself. You said Hopping Gnome, but just give us a little bit of your background. And Lee, I know you're just visiting, but we'll have you introduce yourself as well.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone. I'm Stacy Ward Latin, and I own Hopping Gnome Brewing Company with my husband Tori. And so we've been open almost 6 years, and we're in the Douglas Design District over by Reverie. And I know Andrew's on here, and so I see a lot of familiar faces. I have a nonprofit background and am just still involved with a lot of nonprofits in the community. We do a lot of work. Yes, Amber's on, so I'm on the WIN board. We do a lot of work to support the community. We partner and collaborate with a lot of our neighbors and other small businesses. So I'm also involved on a small business committee with the chamber, and something that we're really digging into. I'm working on a subcommittee to work with the city on kind of the processes for starting a business, and specifically with businesses like my business, with the liquor laws and alcohol and permits and trying to put on events and just kind of reapplying for like licenses every year and those kind of things. It's very cumbersome. And so that's something that in the state and the city, and the state and the city aren't the same. And it's, a lot of things like that. And I think a lot of small business owners deal with that, especially if they have alcohol involved. And so that's something that I'm working on. So Andrea Hatton actually reached out to me about this and said, I think they're talking about a lot of stuff that you would be interested in. So I think it'll fit right along with what the work I'm doing with the chamber. And I'm just excited to meet all of you and hear about everything going on. So thanks.
Lee, can you give us an introduction?
Yeah. Lee Schneider, lifelong Wichitan, Wichita State grad. I've also worked in nonprofits. I worked at the Mental Health Association for about a decade before I came over to Bright Porch Properties. Bright Porch Properties is multifamily housing. We're located in Wichita, downtown on Broadway. We have about 1,000 units across Wichita and Topeka, and we've been in existence for over 40 years. And it's something where obviously this kind of piqued my interest because a lot of it has to do with keeping our people safe, our tenants, our employees and families. So definitely interested in trying to make some improvements in what we can do to help Wichita right now going through such a tough time.
Definitely. Well, we're glad you're on. All right, let's go through and we can just get names and just brief introductions with everyone on a call right now. The next person I have, the title is M. Kellogg.
Hi, I'm Melinda Kellogg. I am with Sedgwick County Health Department. So we were invited to talk to you guys today about mobile clinics.
Excellent. Chris Robertson.
I am the vaccine branch director. I was asked to be on here to talk about the COVID vaccine.
Excellent. Emily Burkover.
Good morning. I'm with Downtown Wichita, as well as Jason Gregory, who's on the call as well. We were invited to speak a little bit with everyone about the Asphalt Art Initiative.
Excellent. Mr. Bell.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wayne Bell, District Director with the SBA. Really appreciate the opportunity again, Mayor, to be a part of this team. And for everyone that is joining us for the first time, this is really a good group. It's been helpful for me. And so looking forward to learning more about all of you all. Thank you.
Ms. Boone.
I am Shannon Boone with Shea Chic Productions. It's an event planning company here in town.
Ms. Harkey.
I'm Jessie Hartkey. My husband Adam is sometimes on with us, but he's busy putting out some fires this morning. We're co-owners out of Wave and Cotillion, and we do some work with the National Independent Venue Association.
Andrew.
Andrew Goff, Reverie Coffee Roasters.
Amber.
Amber Beck, Executive Director for Wichita Women's Initiative Network and Dress for Success Wichita.
Jared.
Yeah, Jared Bowie, and I have a signage company called Wichita Banners and Engraving.
All right. Janet Johnson is staff here at the city. City 7 is actually, that's our communications team. These meetings are official meetings, so they are broadcast on our YouTube channel so that folks can tune in and also to meet our open meeting obligations. Alex.
Hey, I'm Alex Thomas, co-owner of Kirby's Beer Store, Lava and Tonic, the Cotillion, and I think that's it.
Excellent. Jason?
Yes, I'm Jason Gregory. I'm with Downtown Wichita, here to talk to you guys today about the Art Crosswalk project. So look forward to that. Thanks.
Natalie?
Hi, yes, I'm Natalie Greenlee. I'm the owner of the Health Connection. We have 2 locations around Wichita, and we also own an automotive and repair facility out in Rose Hill.
Excellent. Sasha works with us as well, but she also does a small business on the side. I think she's just, I'm not sure if she's here or, Sasha, is that you or someone logged into your computer?
No, that's me. I'm here taking minutes for the meeting.
Excellent. And Felicia?
Good morning, everyone. Felicia Despain with Urban Jacks Barber Spa.
Excellent. All right, so I guess we'll jump right in. Does everybody have a chance to approve the minutes or to read the minutes from the last meeting? Obviously, folks who just got appointed probably don't need to worry too much about it, but is there any changes to the minutes? If not, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Andrew. All in favor of approving the minutes from April 2nd, please say aye or give a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign or thumbs down. The ayes have it. The motion passes. We'll get into pretty much our standing report from Mr. Wayne Bell about the COVID relief updates, so that we can, we're appreciative of the SBA and Mr. Bell, who is keeping us in the loop of all the changes that we're seeing coming in different interpretations coming out of the legislation in DC. So, Mr. Bell, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Real quick, just wanted to give you all this visual of the SBA resources that are at play at the moment. So the Paycheck Protection Program, I'm going to assume that most everyone is familiar with that program now. That remains available to businesses both for a first loan and a second draw loan. That goes through the end of May 2021. And then the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, that's another resource. Now, the difference between the PPP and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is that the Paycheck Protection Program is a forgivable loan, or essentially a grant, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is a loan. It has a very moderate interest rate. I believe it's 3.75%, and it's extended out over 30 years. So it's been a neat resource made available to businesses and eligible nonprofits. Something else that went live last week, and there were problems with our site, but the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, that is a grant that's been made available to museums, venue operators, venues, more or less that entertainment community that has ticket sales associated with their events. And so anyway, that program is up. I expect that portal to be made available for applications again here just any day. We continue to monitor updates, and again, that's the program that Adam and Jesse Hartkey were able to help shape through advocacy and bringing about legislation. So the other items you see there coming over to the left here, that represents the debt relief associated with our normal SBA loans. So both the CARES Act and the Economic Aid Act have made funding available on SBA loan programs such that SBA is covering principal and interest payments on our normal programming. So business owners that have had opportunities, even in the midst of this pandemic, opportunities to expand or perhaps to do something different, they can utilize an SBA loan and get a few months of their payments covered by the SBA. And then also a thing that's coming just again here, probably within the next week, the portal for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, that should be open, I would say, within a week or so. I know the program guide and information guide, those things are already have been posted on the website. There's a lot of information on all of these programs on our website. You can visit us at sba.gov, and you can find the local Wichita district office going to the webpage, sba.gov, and we're happy to answer any questions and to help you navigate any of these programs. So thank you, Mayor.
Of course. Are there any questions for Mr. Bell? See none. Let me get back to my normal view. All right, see no questions. We appreciate the update, Mr. Bell, and we appreciate everything you and your team are doing to help us get the information out about the opportunities with the different relief packages. With that, let's go ahead and jump into last time we spoke, and really many times we spoke, there's a lot of concern about COVID and reopening and ensuring that we stay on track to keep our community safe and reopen on time so that folks can get back to business and back to getting back to normal as quick as possible. Last time we spoke, we have, and I do want to just kind of compliment Andrew. Maybe he might have an update for us towards the end here. Andrew has done a really gone above and beyond, reaching out to council members, and I think an attempt to get somewhat of a plan in place in case our numbers jump up again, so that we can have more predictability with policy and with and really more collaboration with our small businesses. But part of this conversation has, and really part of our strategy has been on vaccines. So that's we reached out to Sedgwick County Health Department to ask about their vaccine plan and what the next steps are. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to that part of the strategy and maybe see how we can add to it. So with that, we've invited Melinda and Christopher on to give us a bit of an update and obviously to have an opportunity to ask questions. So we will hand it over to, I guess, Emily and Christopher. Go ahead and take it away. And Ms. Kellogg, I think, here for that as well. Kellogg, you're with
yeah, it's Melinda Kellogg.
Okay, and you're with the
yes.
Health Department. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't have your name written down, so I got to write that down.
It's okay.
All right, so guys, go ahead and take it away.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. So I am the planning manager. So my side of it is looking at, right now we have just moved to more mobile sites. And so we are looking at, obviously we have some vulnerable zip codes that we're looking at, but then also we want to, partner with people within the community to try and reach as many people as possible. So we'll take any of your ideas. I did meet with Adam and Jesse earlier this week about maybe doing a site at the Wave and the Cotillion to kind of target, the younger populations or make it more fun to have a vaccine event with some music playing. So we're here to, I think, in my eyes, collect your guys' ideas. And then also we wanted to ask you guys, what are you doing to encourage your employees to get vaccinated, and how can we help? Or what do you see that the county could do to, make vaccinations easier for people?
Excellent. Before we get to that, does Emily or excuse me, Ms. Brookover or Mr. Robinson have any requests as we enter into more of a group discussion?
I'm actually here to talk about, I think, the next line item.
Of course you are. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you
say that the biggest thing for me is that I take care of more or less the operations side for operations of the clinic. So I call it the mega clinic, the 223 South Main. And I also take care of operations for the mobile side too. So I love the idea of involving the community, getting more people involved, having something that's enjoyable for people to come get the vaccine. Because as I always jokingly say, no one likes to get stabbed. But in this case, it's for a good cause, for something good. And I really hope that we can get more involvement from the community, more involvement from small businesses. The biggest thing for me is I want to make sure that if we come up with a plan, we have a place that we can support an actual clinic, something that can be big enough, be able to support quite a few people and have some type of a walk-up clinic where come here and enjoy whatever we're doing here and also get the vaccine and stay for your allotted time after.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and that's what we're glad you guys are on, because we wanted to ensure that we can start these conversations to be more collaborative. I think that a lot of us believe will reach a ceiling with folks who can take time to actually go downtown and spend a couple hours, go downtown, get their shot, enjoy the old library as a building, and then have lunch. Like, I've spoken with two, I pretty much only encounter like media folks, right? Like, so I've spoken to two this last week, two different journalists who asked me, hey, did you get the vaccine yet? And they said no, and it was because of their schedule. Like, these are people who actually report on COVID and the success of the vaccines and so on. They're not trying to resist it. They just haven't had the opportunity. They're young. They have to work full time. So I think that we want to start that discussion, particularly with this group. What can we be doing to start, I guess, knocking down some barriers when it comes to folks who do want to get the vaccine, who do value it, who do understand the problem of COVID and how this helps, but right now it's tough to fit it into their everyday. So let's go ahead and open up to comments and suggestions for the health department. And just jump in.
If I could start on this, because we have 40 employees I've been working with, trying to encourage them to do the vaccinations. With our company, we give them PTO to get their shot. So not only are we saying we want you to get it, we're giving you the time off to get your shot. We're also giving them an extra 8 hours if they have a reaction the next day to recover. And I've kind of found out we have 4 different groups of people in my work. Ones that, we've got our shots already. Like, I've already done my 2 shots, and we have, people that are great with getting their shots. They want to do it as soon as possible. The other side of it is we have some people that no matter what, they're not going to get their shot, which we knew there'd be a certain percentage that are going to be like that. Now, the part that I'm having the most trouble with is the people that are having, health concerns. Some of them have said, I'm thinking about having a kid. How would this affect my pregnancy? And then other health factors that tie into it. And then I have some other employees that are a little bit younger that just aren't getting enough communication on the benefits of it. So I definitely think there's still, it's not getting out to people as much as it should. And I'm not sure the best way to get it out there, because I try to meet with them one-on-one and try to go over all their questions, about why I should get the shot, how it's going to affect me, and those different things. So I definitely think there's still some education out there that we really need to get out there, and having it, like you said, at the Wave, I think would be good, because that hits the demographic that I'm talking about. A lot of people that are younger, if you can make it something fun, I think that would help. But from my experience of getting the shot, it was the easiest thing as possible. We went to the library, we got right in, got our shot, sat there for 15 minutes, went home. So, I think it's also communicating how easy it is. It's, our second shot was at Dandurand, and it's like, okay, that's just right around from where I live. Once again, I got in there was no wait. My wife and I both did it, and it was easy. So just trying to make sure people understand how easy it is. It's just crazy. People don't understand how easy it is and how little time it takes.
So if I could just kind of sum up and then ask for input on this, you've identified 4, I think, themes that you're hearing from your employees. One is a hard yes. Yes, they want it, they either got it, they're looking for an opportunity. Another one's a hard no. They're just at this point against it. The next category would be folks who need more information, more education, but based on the health aspects of it, because they are viewing a unique health situation, whether they want to get pregnant or have a child or something else maybe. And then also the next education part sounds like the benefit of it. Right. Someone who considers himself a lower category as far as being hospitalized for COVID, they're not sure what the benefit is. So it seems like 2 education groups, 1 group about opportunity, and another group right now, they're just probably the hardest group to convince. Does the other folks on the call, when you interact with your employees or really even customers, do these 4 categories seem about right? Should we try to, is there a way to expand these categories or add another one? What else are we hearing?
I think that's a pretty fair, accurate of the 4 categories. That's pretty much what I get.
Okay. If I get one more person to agree with that, then we have what my research methods teacher calls we have triangulated the data. So just gonna throw it out there. How are other people when interacting with employees? Jesse, I'm really interested. Jesse, and we have I think Brooke would be an interesting person to ask this too, because you guys are in the service sector where I think a lot of younger people are also bartenders, are waiters, are interacting with folks. And so it kind of seems like you overlap these 2 categories, which would be the opportunity to get it because people are busy, but also the benefit. Are you guys seeing any? And I guess Andrew too, you have folks who are might be younger, but are interacting with people all the time in that service sector, making coffee and stuff. What do you guys have?
We only have our managers back on staff currently. I did offer to give my furloughed employees letters, before it was opened up. I didn't get much of a response. What I have had is, as people are coming back, I am giving a financial reward if they get their shots, and that seems to work really well. So, with my 4 employees I currently have, but that's how I'm approaching it.
It's funny. There's what was it somewhere? It was earlier this week, and it's Friday, so I'm jumbling up my facts. But someone was giving out $250 to each employee who gets a shot. Mm-hmm. Like I would have done it for Andrew's coffee. Like I would have done it before it was approved. Yeah, I'll try that. I get free coffee for a weekend. Yeah, so it's interesting, I guess. Yes. You okay, Alex?
Mixing you.
I will say. Oh, go ahead.
I would say. Oh, sorry, Alex. For us, I think it's interesting because I do think there's different groups of employees. Like our front of house staff has been really receptive in getting it, which is good because they are, front facing, and our full-time cooks were maybe a little slower, but they're jumping, I think now they feel more comfortable with it. And so we have seen them get vaccinated as well. But, a lot of our employees who are only working with us who, our security guards, for instance, now we're kind of pushing them to get it, but they don't work for us as often. So we don't really have as much of an influence in their lives. So a financial reward might make sense. On the other hand, it's well, we have a lot of employees, so then we need to give a financial reward to everyone else who's already gotten vaccinated. And, so it gets a little tricky there, I think. But it is interesting because I think if you look at the different, demographics of employees that we have, there are certain groups that are a little bit more hesitant to get it. And those groups are typically groups that aren't making as much money, that aren't getting as many hours. And
then we're gonna get to Andrew next. He was jumping in, so I don't want to steal his spot or anything. I do have a probing question about this, and something that I think about. Out of the folks who are in the hard no category or one of the 2, I think, education categories, are we seeing any particular trends? And I ask this because maybe there's a way for educational outreach, right? So if we're doing more now for, I think, putting more information in bilingual form, for example. So, I think our talking with Sarah Lopez over at the county level and visiting with one of the community centers over in our areas that are highly populated with folks who are Latino. We are seeing that we have more effect when we put stuff in Spanish over there. So, because we had less, I think the trend was showing that less folks from that community were interested in getting the vaccine until they learn more about it. So I say that because are there any other, and you mentioned folks who might not be getting paid as much, does that mean that do we want to think that, or I guess hypothesize that folks who might have lower income might need more information about this? Like, are there any trends that we're seeing that we could go and be more helpful in providing the information or these opportunities that would help us be more targeted? And as we think about that, Andrew, why don't you jump in?
So a couple things. My wife's company, the big manufacturing company, they were offering $200 incentives, and it's for the most part low-paid people, and they were shocked at how many people took the money. So it is influential, and I would say that's a bigger population of people that have come from diverse backgrounds and lower wage. So money is definitely an influencer. We thought about offering an incentive, but so many of our employees wanted to do it. The incentive we put out there was we're going to throw a big old party, like on the weekend after everybody that's, eligible will be able to do it. And we think that might have motivated a few people by being inclusive, included in the group. So, but we have a few people, much like everybody else in the food industry, especially who are skeptical, like want information, which is like, I don't know how much more information you need. They want, what I asked the question, what would you need in order to make the decision to say yes? It's like for it to be approved, so it's like, okay, well, 2 years from now, maybe then they'll think about it, but probably never convince that person. And they're more of a conservative mindset than, the rest of the gang. And then the other is a Latino individual that, has concerns like we've heard other places. And kind of interesting, one of the persons that expressed they weren't interested right away is because they felt at times have interacted with doctors, treated them very poorly in the past at some certain clinics in town, that they just don't trust the doctors anymore. They're just like, I don't trust it. And it goes back to another issue, of just trust, it's not new. And so I've been coming at it from a very caring perspective, but it's at some point though, I just like, we have things that we can't do in our business. As a good example, I've got a vendor that I work with up in Minnesota, and their entire company is vaccinated. They're very proud of that. And they won't let us come on site unless we're vaccinated. And I'm like, this is an opportunity you won't get if you don't do it. And we're on a clock. Like, we've got 6 weeks to get this done. And that's exactly how long you need. And so that might influence them. So others, I think some people are seeking doctor's advice, which I think is not a bad idea. One of our employees went to see their doctor to get some labs run just to make sure, because they're kind of scared, about taking this because of the lack of information that's been shared. And that's, so we'll see. That it's kind of funny. They did labs and everything. It's taken almost 3 weeks to get an answer from the doctor, and they still don't have an answer. And yet we've just let that time go by. So, and I would tell you, for skeptics, just so you know, like, if for skeptics, which they exist and they have every right to be skeptic, when they see everybody get sick the next day, that makes them not any more comfortable with this. So that's what I've heard.
So just a couple of things I'm going to pull out, and tell me if I'm misreading this. When we talked about benefits, like, in my mind, I was thinking we need to show younger, healthier folks the health benefit of not passing this. Like, if you have a vaccine, you're less likely to catch this, and you're less likely to pass this to a loved one or to someone else who is in a more vulnerable category. That's where my mind went with telling the benefit, where yeah, you might get sick for a weekend and you might beat this thing. You can be confident like that, but not everyone in your life can. However, I'm wondering if benefit also from some of the experience might be some type of financial or social benefit. And I'm wondering if we could start thinking about that, where people weren't going to do it until we told them we'll give them $100 or $200, and now they lined up, or people weren't going to do it until they realized they'd be excluded from a mask-free party that we will host only for folks who are vaccinated. So I mean, that's some interesting, I think, takeaways to kind of get a couple levels deeper into that. Also, relationships with doctors and institutions, I think, is really interesting. That's something I think we have to think about in the role of leadership, right? Where I'm elected, you're not supposed to trust me, right? Like, and that's okay. Like, I actually tell people you shouldn't trust electeds on what they say. You should trust what they do. Watch how they vote. Watch how they maneuver. And frankly, I'm in that world. But when it comes to medical doctors, yeah, are we seeing, I guess, are people more resistant because they have more negative experiences in clinics or in medical facilities? Does that correlate with the economic? I mean, because we pulled out an economic issue here. Well, I remember not having health insurance when I first moved out here and would go to a clinic for healthcare, and they push you through very fast because they have a lot of folks there and they don't have time for, I guess, at least my experience, which was years ago, didn't have time for that bedside mannerism, right? Like where you're building a relationship. Half the time with my doctor is like building a relationship with him. And that's why I have the same doctor for so long, right? Like, not because he's great. He's actually like misdiagnosed me before on stuff like, yeah, but I like the guy. So I'll keep going. Like, so I'm wondering, when we think about the economic variable, does that correlate also with this idea of not trusting your doctor because you might not have a primary doctor? And also, when we think about influence, what are some of us might actually be some of those influential folks where we might not think that, you know, we're a medical expert or should be speaking to this, but there might be people who work with you who see you as that role, right? Who trust you, which would be interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff to dive into a little deeper.
I would be curious to ask Melinda or Christopher if you have any data on what group or what population age group are getting tested or vaccinated. Meaning, like, are the older population more likely to get vaccinated?
That's a really good question, because that's hard data you guys have.
So that data is just now being, I think they got it done yesterday for the county, because as I told Jesse and Adam the other day, there was a big issue with the data. Somehow, like, white people got switched in the system. So it was like, you know, we obviously know we have a lot of more white people in our population, and there was like 2% white people. So we were like, okay, this is funky. So they had to really clean the data at KDHE to get that for us. So we I can after this call, I was gonna go over to our data folks to find out if they can share that with me. But what we do know from appointments, so when we opened up to 65 plus, the appointments went like that, like they were just gone. And as we've opened up to the other phases, the appointments just aren't filling. So, I mean, from that, anecdotal data is showing us that, the younger populations aren't, taking it, our appointments just aren't filling at the library like they were when we opened up to the older populations. So yeah.
I think to add on to that, the biggest thing that I've seen, we talk about benefits. We talk about the ones that are over the age of 65 that had the highest risk for it. One of the biggest benefits was protecting themselves or others from illness or from death. And that was the biggest concern that a lot of them had, was that age 65 and older. And I guess that whole idea of that self-awareness of their own health was a concern for them at that point. But someone under the age of 65, that stopped being a concern because that data shows differently. But I guess they're not quite understanding that there's ability for a virus to evolve, and it could change and it can do different things. And that's usually that communication I give to people my age, the other people I have in the community, the other medical professionals. Me as a nurse, I talk to other nurses all the time that say they won't get it. And I ask the question, why? They say, well, what's the benefit for me? Well, you stop the spread. That's the first thing. You'd be able to create the antibodies or the immune response. Your immune system will have a response at that point without actually having the illness. And that illness could be very severe to you. So why go through that? Why put yourself through that problem? And that's really the biggest thing too, is that being accountable for your own health. And I know when I was younger, I didn't care about my health. Now I'm in my 30s, I probably should start caring about my health.
So can I ask though, and make this point is that when it was 65 and older, it was really just at the library. I mean, and now, you know, I mean, I'm getting texts from Dylan's that says you can get the shot there. So is it that, you know, not just, yeah, those spots aren't filling up, but it's now getting, I mean, I've got employees that went to Walgreens and got their shot and didn't go to the library. So, I mean, is that the case, is that those spots aren't filling up, that we see that is because we can get it at more locations now?
I would say yes, that's some of it as well, but I do think we're, I mean, the population that we're open to everybody 16 plus, that's a huge population compared to if you're just saying 65 plus. So even though there are more locations to get it at, and even with the pharmacies that, because we transfer vaccine to the pharmacies, some of them, and so even they have told me like their demand is going down, even though we're open up to a much larger population.
So I'm going to jump in with just a couple other thoughts from what I've been hearing as mayor here. One of them is Israel did a really incredible job getting folks vaccinated, and one of the ways they did it was this opt-in versus opt-out idea, where or opt-out versus opt-in, where instead of calling and making an appointment, they just shot everyone a text message, and they have a centralized medical system saying you're scheduled for the vaccine on this day at this time. Let us know if you can't make it. So, and folks just, they didn't have to do much thought about it, right? Like they had to, instead of pushing them to do it, you had to push to not do it. Which brings me to my next thought. I mean, we can't do that here, really. We just don't have the system. But when it comes to employers, I get at the city level, we will have, I think, Grace Med show up at our buildings to offer all of our employees a vaccine. And my understanding is Grace Med will, if you have 10 or more employees who sign up, they will come down and with their medical clinic or their portable clinic, whatever it is, and they'll offer this. Kind of taking a page out of the opt-in versus opt-out, I'm wondering, or opt-out versus opt-in, I'm wondering is there a way that we could go to or let business owners know that, you know, if you have at least 10 people who want to sign up, they can come to those businesses. Is there, at which you could tell your employees, hey, this is the day we're going to do this, which makes them have to kind of opt out instead of, you know.
So just to touch on that, we do have partnerships, because for the county, with us running the library and then doing something that small would, you know, that's the time and resources aren't the best for us. So what we've done is we have partnered with the local pharmacies. So if anybody is interested, and I was going to put this in at the end of the conversation, anybody who's interested in hosting on-site vaccine clinic at their site can email me, and I can get you in touch with the pharmacy that can come on site and do just that.
I have a really crazy idea. Why don't you, can we partner with the Kansas Department of Labor and have them come to the library, and you can meet with somebody from the Kansas Department of Labor for your unemployment benefits right there, and you get your shot, your vaccination, and they can meet with a representative, because you can't make a phone call to get anybody, and their new system changed in January. So I know there's still people that aren't getting checks. They can meet with they can meet with the Department of Labor. I guarantee you will get people there.
I just got to throw out there. Yeah, I just got to throw out there. Department of Labor is hard to get to do anything. I reached out to them and tried to offer them like a month ago or 2 months ago, and things were just really bad, and like almost begging as much as a mayor should beg, right? Like, I have an office for you. I have staff. We have resources. We want you to send people down to Wichita. We will give you whatever you want, but we need someone on site who can take questions. And you guys look bad right now, and we're going to have a big press release to make you look good because you're doing stuff like pretty much costs you nothing. Send us one person, we'll take care of them, and we'll get back to you. And just like, just so you know, like
I mean, you're gonna help get people vaccinated. We got to get that.
I mean, it's cool. It's a cool idea. I mean, Yeah, that's
That'd take a
interesting.
miracle. That'd take a miracle for KDOL. I've sent everybody, every people in our industry, every resource I could possibly come up with, and to even get a reply from someone, or initially some of the people that we received replies from, some of those people aren't even working for KDOL anymore. So it seems there's way more struggles with those people than is even possible to fathom.
Let me ask a two-parters. Number one, if you maybe you could get one of those computers with the tapes they used to have for their phones, and we could just put it out in the field and like office space style, whatever, beat it up, and then get a vaccination. I would go to do that. I'd do it again.
Oh my God, Janet just laughed so loud I heard her with our door closed. So go ahead, continue.
Okay, and then the other thing was but be careful. Is this population of people that are unemployed? Do we know that they're not getting vaccinated? Perhaps they're the most vaccinated people because they're not going to work. I don't know. So I don't want to make an assumption that that's the best group if they don't actually need the vaccine, or that's just one way to get to a group, not the only way.
Yeah, but also there's that benefit of like, no one really knows if someone who works for the KDL actually exists, right? It's kind of a myth. Like you can't get in touch with them, like coming out and seeing like a white buffalo or something. So, I mean, there's another effect to it, but yeah, but I guess, joking aside, bundling services is an interesting idea, right? Like if it's not just, I guess one that we hear a lot, which is the Department of Labor, but yeah, are there other services that people would be interested in knocking out on their list at the same time? I mean, I thought about at one point, like when we did the baseball stadium, showing up for that game with Wichita State, it was a pretty great event, and people were social distance. They wore masks until we got inside, where it's open air. But it was 96% full, and I just kind of had that thought, which I'm sure a lot of people did, where like, what if we had kind of the Health Corps mobile bus over there who would give people shots, maybe the Johnson & Johnson, just the one and done once it's done being examined further. Like, what if we had something there? Like, would that be successful? You're pulling a bunch of people into one space, and you could even have, during the announcements where, hey, when you are, when you're out and about or going for a walk, you can go wait in line and go get yourself a shot. Kind of like how people do it with the blood drives, where they go where people are. I mean, it would just be interesting if we could collaborate with some I guess city/private functions, but so
yes, I would not to interrupt you, but we've already been in talks with Riverfest on that, and so if I'll put my email in the chat here, but any ideas or events, if you guys are hosting events, let us know, and we can try to do our figure out a way to do something like that. So yeah, we're thinking of those things as well as we move forward.
Well, before we get to the next topic, I do want to ask real quick. You made a comment about sending you information because you can coordinate with some of the other community health clinics. Is that something we could pass on to the business community more at large? Like, is that something that I could talk to the Kansas or the Wichita Chamber about, or WEBA, or some of these other? Hey, if to get that in, can I guess get some bullet points that we could pass along? Because I think that would change. I mean, Lee says he has 40 employees. I bet if he knew that, he could get a bus over there to get them all vaxxed on a Friday, and they take the weekend off, then there might be people more willing to do that. So what information should we be getting out there?
Yeah, so two thoughts I had. So I think you're probably aware, Mayor, that Lopez and Cruz had the town hall at North High the other evening. So if any, and I know some of you, like the first gentleman that talked about, the two educational groups. So we can do like town halls at different places and have, where your employees can ask those types of questions that they have. And we could, and I would ask you guys to tell us, like, who are their trusted sources? So having somebody that is from that trusted source, we could even one of the ideas that we tossed around with the refugee population is they have some areas have trained the refugee leaders about, you know, how to answer those questions that people have. So if you are a trusted source, then you know, and then you have you have somebody you can call if they ask you a question you don't know the answer to. Then you have a trust, somebody that you can contact to be able to answer those questions that you may not know. But we could train people on, how to answer the questions that you're getting. And then also the other thought I had was, so I can send like a bullet points with, we have a list of and that's on the website as well. If you go to our Sedgwick County website, there is a thing, if you want to have an on-site clinic at your work site, you click it and you can be it has our email address to contact us for that, to get the list of pharmacies. So I can send that out with that. And then also I was going to ask, we are partnering with KUMC, and actually just so everybody's aware, I normally work at KUMC. I'm here on a contract with the health department. So my boss, they are putting together, we did the survey back in, I think, November, December timeframe. So they're revamping that survey to send out again. So I was going to ask if we send out that survey link to all of you, would you be willing to share that with your employees? And we're asking some of these questions, like what would help you to get the vaccine? Is it the time of day? Is it you need to hear it from a trusted source? So some of those things. So if you guys would be willing to share that with people, that would be very, really helpful for us.
Yeah, if you send it to Janet, she can send that out to the group, and possibly even add in folks who used to be in this group as well. So maybe we can get a wider, just the opportunity to get cast a wider net with that. So I think shoot that information to Janet, and she can help distribute that. That's a good idea. All right, let's jump into, we got about, and we're usually a few minutes late, so we're right on time. But let's get on to the next bullet point, which is discussion on the Bluebird Asphalt grant. So Emily and Jason, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Good morning. And I will be as brief as I can. I'm Emily Brookover. I am with Downtown Wichita. And if you're unfamiliar with our organization, we are an economic development nonprofit that supports the downtown district. And Janet was kind enough when she sent out materials to include a district map, just to kind of show you the boundaries of where we serve. So we support small businesses, we try and activate spaces and support programming, bring people downtown and increase vibrancy and participation in that area. So one of the things that we do annually is look at grant opportunities. And this one is, I think you guys are all familiar and have discussed the Bluebird asphalt art opportunity before. And we also had been thinking about applying and then realized that we may all be having kind of the same conversation about the same grant. So we were interested in applying for the grant and possibly doing something along Douglas or 1st and 2nd Street near Old Town. And then it was brought to our attention that there was discussion possibly about applying to activate an area either in Delano or out in front of East High School, which both would be fantastic, I think, spots for some kind of asphalt activation on the streets or on the crosswalks there. So we just wanted to touch base with all of you and get on the same page. If somebody is already writing this grant or going after this opportunity, I think that's wonderful, and we would be supportive in any way that we can. Unfortunately, because we work within district boundaries, we wouldn't be able to really help much, if you plan on applying for something in Delano or East High, but, we'll do what we could. But if you're interested in partnering with us and directly applying, we'd be able to apply for a project that was within our boundaries downtown. So Janet and I talked the other day, and she thought it might be worthwhile for Jason and I to hop on and just talk briefly about this. And if anybody's made any headway on the grant application, it's due April 30th, so it's right around the corner. So anybody has any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
I don't think that anyone had moved forward with actually applying or trying to fill out the grant application. I know that when Troy Houtman from Parks and Rec had joined us for a meeting, last meeting or a couple of meetings ago, and had some ideas, but I don't think anyone had moved forward with anything. So I'm happy to help however I can.
Yeah, that seems to be sort of where the conversation is paused. Everybody, it's such an exciting prospect, and there were so many ideas. We just hadn't heard if any of these ideas had moved forward.
I can
we
share
can
that.
only have one application per community, so we didn't want to step on any toes.
So like, not individuals can't fill it out. It has to be the city or an organization, a nonprofit organization. So it couldn't be any one of us. That's why.
Right. It's like it has to be a joint venture. So it's a partnership between the municipality and a nonprofit. So, it would be us, Downtown Wichita, as the nonprofit partnered with the city of Wichita, or, Bike Walk Wichita partnered with the city or some other nonprofit.
So I had reached out to East High just because it's our neighborhood, and got on an email thread. I went through their art department because I figured it'd be a great way for the students to interact. But then it's just like anything there in the school system right now, it hit a brick wall, probably.
Sure.
There's like 10 principals that have to think about things over there. And it just probably fell flat on its face, and it needed probably somebody else to join in. It was just more of an idea. I love the Delano idea as well that was brought up for extending. And I think that organization over there would be interested as well. But my understanding was they needed somebody else to help kind of guide them along, because it's a volunteer organization likely. So they're just busy people working and living life. So really we need an organized group like yours to really be the leader. I don't think any one of us could really be the leader anyways, because we can't apply. So.
And we would love to do that. We just wanted to make sure that everybody was okay with doing a downtown focused project. Like I said, we're limited by our boundaries. So my kiddo is a Blue Ace, and I know that area really well, picking up and dropping off at East High. They could definitely benefit from some traffic lowering and walkability safety, but we wouldn't be able to pitch in and support that.
Emily, could you remind me what the boundaries are that the Downtown Association considers?
Absolutely. So we go from Central down to Kellogg, and then from Washington Avenue to the river. So we're not quite a square, but within those boundaries.
Perfect. Thank you.
I do like the idea of doing something on 1st or 2nd Street, or both.
Do what, Shannon? I'm sorry.
I like the idea of doing something on 1st and 2nd Street, or one or the other.
Yeah, there's some opportunities there for crosswalks to do sort of all 4 crosswalks, and then maybe a mural in the middle. You can apply for multiple locations. So let's say we wanted to do a 4 location, mural, I guess. It doesn't have to be all in one spot, but it does have to be connected in some way. So if we did 3 or 4 different spots down in Old Town on 1st and 2nd Street, it would just have to somehow tie together, either visually, with color or whatnot.
So I'm just curious, I know the boundaries, and, I understand the boundaries, but, could we not do like Douglas and get those one partner in Delano, one partner on East High, and do 2 in the middle on Douglas, and it's all connected by Douglas, and you still are the lead organization, but you're partnering with these other 2 people, that does it, and again, it's all Douglas.
In theory, yeah, that would be amazing. Because it's called a SMID district. And so there's actual tax dollars that are paid that kind of get reinvested back into our organization that we then push back out to reinvest in our little district. So we're really, really kind of constrained to where we can work within.
Well, I know, but if you had other organizations at those other 2 partnering with you and saying, this is how much it would be in the Delano, and this is how much it's in East High, and then your district took, because because we do that all the time, partner with other, organizations. We stay the fiscal agent, and then that's the money that goes elsewhere.
Sure.
That goes to their partners.
So in that scenario, I would recommend that one of those other organizations take the lead, and then we come in as a supporter and help navigate the specific project that happens in downtown. So that's kind of, I think, how we would manage that.
So Andrew, that might work for you, having one in front of East High there, kind of in front of yours, and then whoever was in the Delano one, if you have a main focus partner like the Wichita downtown, it could work. And that way, all the areas could get something.
I'm hearing though that they probably can't fill out an application, for example, for something outside of their SMID district.
Right, but she can't be the lead, but the other organization can.
This can only be one application though is the problem. So you'd have to have 3.
I know, but you just partner with all 3, and then you just make one the main fiscal agent, and then funds the other 2 areas.
Can I just jump in and say that one of the awesome things about the Downtown Association is that they have a lead like Emily. Unfortunately, a lot of the association, that's kind of missing from other associations within the district. And so I wish the city had somebody like Emily to just focus on community outreach and helping businesses navigate through red tape for permit applications and that sort of thing, because she's been really helpful to us. But we're lucky that we're in the downtown district.
So Scott Rigby's on the line. Perhaps they have a way to help. And I was going to suggest that I know that Emily, you share offices normally, I think, with the Greater Wichita Partnership, which to me is encompassing the entire community. I thought that was actually who took this project from the city, was the partnership, which is great because it would include the entire city to some degree. So
sure. Well, I think it's also important to note that the maximum amount that can be requested for this grant is $25,000, which sounds like a lot, but really is not. When you think about, design and labor costs and administrative costs, and also the cost of, the supplies. Hopefully in a project like this, we wouldn't do it for, a temporary time. We would be able to invest in more long-term supplies that would last us a while and wouldn't fade, like paint and stuff like that. So it's wonderful to start thinking about ways to connect and make this project bigger, but the money really is limited at $25,000.
And we're at a very short turnaround time.
Very short turnaround time. Yeah, April 30th is the due date.
yeah, I had read, if you had read the previous proposals, they outlined where the monies went. More than half the money went into planning and design, which is kind of quite honestly shocking how much money was spent on it. It was almost like having to get, approval after approval after approval, which every layer cost thousands of dollars. The actual work was like hardly any of the cost. It was just kind of annoying to think that maybe 12 to 15,000 of those 25 was just going to like stuff that could be designed for a lot less, but because it flows through the government system, it costs just like so much more.
Sure. Yeah.
I hated seeing that, but because I know there's artists across the street that could do a lot of the design work, but it's not what we're talking about. It's the city planning.
Right. And that would be the benefit of partnering with an organization like ours, is that we would actually handle all of the creative and the artistic processes. So a lot of that red tape we would be able to kind of cut through.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have a dog in the fight if it's inside the boundaries, and I'm not a nonprofit, and I've tried to get the school involved, and there's just not a whole lot I can do. The Douglas Design District would be the only other opportunity, but that's pretty much on pause right now. So wouldn't see
in terms of working with USD 259, Andrew, I just partnered on a new project with them, and I pitched it to them now, and the project won't be worked on because of their scheduling and whatnot until the fall. So if this is something that you all are passionate about East High, downtown, and Delano, it may be worth taking the year to plan it. Giving USD 259 time to work this into their, big umbrella plan and applying next year. There's no reason that we have to apply this year, other than it's exciting and I want to do it right now. But, if there's a bigger plan in mind and there's more organizations to get involved, it may be worth, hitting pause and taking the year to really research and partner with everybody and apply next year. That what I got from, I went to, or I didn't go to, I logged on and watched just kind of an informational webinar about the grant, and it doesn't sound like it's going anywhere. So I think it'll be around next year to apply if this is something that, you know, we want to really take a look at.
I'm on board either way. I want to put art everywhere in our city. So whatever we can
I agree.
Yeah, whatever we can do to make that happen. But I also I like the idea of collaborating amongst different organizations, but I don't know.
You don't know if it can get done. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I always say the ideas
You
are
kind of
the
have to have a
part.
point person.
Exactly. And if the project, you know, the scope of the project gets really big, I don't know if I'd be able to be the lead on that.
I would suggest that we endorse Emily to move forward, because I don't think any of us have the capacity to get this done in 2 weeks, and that we would support her.
That sounds reasonable.
I agree.
I see a couple of nods.
Well, consensus is really silence. Is there anyone against that idea? Sharon Boone just did a little.
I mean, we had talked via
Party
email. We had talked via email, you know, about doing something in Delano, and I don't know if Sarah is just missing today, but she, you know, she has the biggest dog in that fight. And I mean, I agreed. I thought it would be nice to shift the focus to Delano, but if we don't have the mechanism, then, you know, it would be dead in the water. I also, like Brooke, I'll back Emily's effectiveness. I've served on another board with her, and I agree that she can get it done. And I think that's the key, is it's better to use it than lose it. You know, get someone out there working on it. As you know, we have no other real route for the Delano thoughts that were passed via email. So I agree, and I think that's the best bet. I don't know if it needs what kind of endorsement officially it needs out of this group or not, but. And I don't have a dog in that fight either. I'm outside those boundaries now.
Yeah, I think we, Jason and myself, just hopped on to talk through it and sort of get your blessing, because we certainly did not want to, again, step on anyone's toes or, you know, make anyone feel like they were overlooked in this process. Because we certainly know how it feels to start working on a project and then realize somebody else is working on the exact same project too. So we just wanted to touch base and make sure that you guys were okay with us moving forward. And there's also no guarantee that we'll even get it. So if by chance we don't, that's also another opportunity to circle back and apply next year again. Jason, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I think the other thing too, it's like Emily said, we may or may not get the grant. I think it's something that as a community we would want to apply for every year, and I think that can change. And like you said, you know, given the quick turnaround for this year, you may want to start small and just and test it. We had a pretty robust conversation with Gary Jansen, city engineer, and there's a lot more to it than just putting some paint on the ground. And, you know, that they've got to approve some from a traffic design. The materials have got to be able to withstand traffic flow and all of that good stuff. So there's some engineering, so to speak, that goes into it as well from a traffic safety standards. And we'll spend a fair amount of time learning about all of those standards and restrictions that we have. And so I think as a community, though, if we can say, hey, East High is an area we want to target, there's locations in downtown and Delano, I think we effectively say, hey, in the next 5 years, we want to go after all those locations and have a plan in place for long-term maintenance. Because I think that's the biggest thing is you get the grant, it gets installed, and then what happens after year 3 if it doesn't look great, or, you know, what does that long-term maintenance look like? Because you don't want it to deteriorate or look bad long-term. So
I just, if you're doing paint on the ground, talk to Douglas Design District, whoever's left under Stacy had a lot to do with that,
Right.
about that project. And also, we want to advocate for small business in this group. So perhaps we could influence some sort of like effort put into areas that are being redeveloped or being developed in downtown, thinking like specifically by the bridge and the train station area where there's a lot of real estate they're trying to fill in there. That could become a great area to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our main goals at downtown Wichita is just to increase walkability and safety and to make it pedestrian friendly, which in turn benefits, you know, all of the small businesses down there. So we've definitely looked at areas of Douglas, and then also, yeah, like I said, down in Old Town.
And something too that the city is looking at right now is that the People for Places initiative that's looking at different nodes in the community, where we can see infill development. And so this grant, this process might be an opportunity for us to, you know, get with the city, say, hey, these neighborhoods would really benefit from some sort of an activation, partner that with some development. I know Nomar and some other neighborhoods that are slated for hopefully some really great turnaround transition projects. This might be something too that's just an added bonus and would be a great addition to the initiatives the city's already kind of working on in some of these other infill neighborhoods. So.
All right, we're about 11 minutes beyond 10. Is there, we usually go about 15 minutes over. Is there any, I guess, questions on this further discussion?
Is everybody's okay with me giving this a shot? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll keep everybody posted.
We appreciate that. That's
Thank you. Thanks for letting us hop on.
Of course.
Thanks, everyone.
So just got a few minutes left. Is there anyone who has anything that they want to squeeze in towards the end? All right, see none. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so let's go ahead and just, I guess, close out. Our next meeting is April 30th, 2021. Obviously, sorry, I don't know why I read that part. If there's any reason we should meet before then, if anything crazy happens, of course, anyone can initiate, I guess, a meeting, and let's stay in touch through social media in the meantime, and make sure that, you know, we are on top of anything that happens between now and next meeting. I appreciate everyone being on, and if there's no further discussion, then we will adjourn.
Mayor, may I ask you one quick question? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Has there been any talk amongst your colleagues about the possibility of putting in some sort of like rules if we get to a certain point since we've talked last?
No, sadly. Really, the discussion kind of focused around, particularly when it comes to mask mandates and so on. I mean, one of the, it's somewhat been a trend throughout this whole crisis is, you know, when I was a grad student, I took a class on scenario planning, and pretty much the goal was to try to predict stuff that might come our way and have answers ready for it, so you can respond instead of react. The thing with COVID is it's very predictable, right? Like, it's pretty easy to figure out what side to stand on this because it's like a weather chart. Like, we can predict how it moves. So the council at one point had the 5% spread rate was a trigger for us on our last mask mandate. And it really was misconceived on misperceived on what that was. That was to hand it over to the county for us to get out of what we were doing so the county could take over. The county has since been stripped of their ability to do anything with this. So it's under 5. Also, that 5% was never adopted by healthcare professionals. No healthcare professional really took that. So it was more of just imaginative number that the council adopted. But even so, like, even if we use it as a threshold, even though we could poke holes in the logic of it, I think that we would be better served if there was conversation about what happens. Can we have agreement now if this community spread goes above 5%, right? Like, if that was our last threshold, should we be concerned and do something at the city level because we are the last local government that actually has power to handle this, thanks to the legislature's rewriting of the emergency powers. Our authority doesn't come through the emergency powers; it comes through the Constitution, through home rule. So that's what I think we should have discussions on that. But I think because of the emotion around this issue, for some reason it's more political than not, we haven't been able to really have those discussions. And it's kind of a throwback to earlier this year when I tried to have these discussions and people were more accusatory than they were, I think, brainstorming. So those discussions seems to be, particularly from what Andrew has reported back, they seem to be actually more beneficial coming from the community, being more organic. So I would want to encourage folks to continue to have those discussions with council members and kind of just drop that, I guess, those seeds of thought, right? Like, what if it gets this way? We of course don't want it to. And there was a headline yesterday in the Eagle about how I think Sedgwick County, or actually all of Kansas, we're doing better right now than most parts of the country. Like, we're one of the best right now when it comes to keeping the spread low and for hospitalizations. And that's good. Like, but also the idea that we can maintain being one of the best in the country is still pretty, we shouldn't bank on that. We should have a plan B. And so, yeah, just to get to your question, Andrew, no, those conversations haven't been had here that I've been involved in. But my understanding is when you all have been reaching out, those conversations have been better received coming organically from the community than they have, I think, coming from other electeds.
So my experience was that the person I spoke with was very willing to listen. It was a great conversation. You could tell there was hesitancy to want to do anything simply because of what we would probably qualify as like political reasons, political will. But they do agree that if there was an issue, perhaps we could do something. And I'm like, well, why can't we just plan that ahead of time? And the issue of legality kept coming back up, and I kept hitting back with the stories and the articles and the Senate bill, everything pointing towards, no, this is not a concern. And they still are resistant. There's a power that's like stronger than we can push. And so to me, it's like, well, if enough people go with the same logical reasoning, they might start to think differently about this, because I do see it as something that they are concerned about. They're just, I don't know. And they love the idea that we're doing good on our own, which I do too. This is the backup plan. This is the pivot that we all need to be prepared to do, that we've worked so hard on the last year. To not be prepared for one right now is kind of it's going to blow up in our face if there's an issue. And I would love to be proved wrong on this, because that means we've beat this thing, which is the whole point. And the point of my conversation was to shift the responsibility back onto the citizens to make sure we don't go back to where we have to put our masks on all the time, or they have to, rather. I'm still good.
Or hourly shutdown, or trying to have to shut down businesses or any of that type of stuff. So eventually, I want everyone here believes they're nonpartisan, which is good. Like, partisanship to me isn't a declaration of what team you're on. It's more of like, where are your bias? Are you conscious of your bias, your political bias, your policy bias? It's not so much, in my opinion, as I'm this team or that team. So having an understanding of our bias, I think, is important. I would encourage, particularly Andrew, in your situation, who should be the legal authority? Like, asking questions. Who do you think? Okay, what legal opinion would you? Or what organization? Who would be the legal opinion that you would trust the most? And because the reality is, I think if we establish that, then we can get to like logic, because our legal team here in this city that are accountable to us has said that there is no legal limitation to putting back in a mask order. Like, the county's legal team has said there's no legal risk of putting in a mask order. Like, so I think we have to establish who is going to be that third party, who is, and we had problems with this because, like I said, it's a logic versus political will and then emotion, where if we're not, like, when we had those doctors come in, we had the best doctors in the entire city who've dealt with COVID every single day. Most hands-on folks said, hey, we need a mask ordinance. We still had people here saying, I think that there is medical opinion that is contrary to this. And the reality is, like, not one doctor in the entire city has stepped up and said we shouldn't do this. Like, not one medical doctor. So then we have to ask the question, what medical association should we listen to? Because the, Sedgwick County Medical Society is on board, the hospital leadership's on board. Like, is there another, like, benchmark? What is the benchmark? And I think with this issue, it's interesting because we haven't been able to truly define who is the benchmark. Is it our legal department or some other department? Is it Sedgwick County Health Organization or Sedgwick County Medical Society or some other society? And I wonder if when I talk to electeds who want to be more policy-based and based on principle, usually if you can define, in your opinion, who should we be listening to, then we now, it's not an argument anymore. It's now, okay, let's defer to the experts. What do they say? So, but yeah, if I was having that legal argument with folks, I would ask that, like, if we can't trust our city attorney, then who do we trust? Like, let's go ask that person. And eventually it winds up, if they want to just run from it, it winds up being someone we'll never get an opinion on. Like, oh, I'll be the AG or the Supreme Court or somebody that, like, really we don't, I don't know. That's usually when people are punting, but it would be interesting, I think, to start to ask those questions. What percentage would scare you? If not 5%, would 10%? Because we were there last year. Last time we were this low, it jumped to 10%. Like, what would it take? So I think that's just my advice for anyone who's talking to a policymaker, who's outside of the realm of a political perspective, who wants to get into the data. Like, let's get into the data then. What would move this conversation? But right now, like, we're doing better than anyone, and hopefully that lasts. But we'll also, time-wise in this thing, have been behind. So is it we're doing really well because we are doing better than everyone else, or is it we're doing really well because we're a few weeks behind where they are? We'll find out, I guess. Other thoughts on this? Andrew, I really appreciate you actually reaching out and having these conversations with folks and trying to figure out what's the holdup, what's the problem, and can we solve that? Can we give them the information they would need to move on this if we had to? So I think that's really important.
Yeah, everybody has a tipping point, and you just got to figure out where it's at. And the challenge is to not be annoying, because then when that happens, they put up a wall, and it's like, I think a lot of people on these calls have built a good enough relationship with these members of our electeds that are willing to listen. I mean, it took me one email and then we had an appointment set. It was great. Had a good conversation, reconnecting. I just wish that it had a different outcome. So, but it takes, little by little. That's how we do it.
Right. And I appreciate it, because I think right now is the time to have those talks, right? Like, we want to, before, you want to have an exit strategy if a building catches on fire before it catches on fire, right? So, and hopefully it never does, right? But now's the time to have those talks. I really appreciate that. You guys are reaching out and doing that. And let me know how I can help on my end too.
Yeah, I would recommend too, if you do this, don't bring up Mayor Whipple in the conversation, because it needs to be from us, not from just our group. Because there's a lot of, they need to hear from the community, not just like a sounding board from the mayor to them, because they already know his position. And not to say that we don't value your position, Mayor, but just like you said, even your own team of electeds they don't like hearing it sometimes, So it's good to hear from the businesses, specifically if you're a business operator, say you're a business operator, because they listen really, really well. If you're an individual, they listen. But so there you go.
It always sounds better though when I'm saying it than when you say it, though. Yeah. Well, Mayor Whipple, they'll listen to you, but like, yeah, I know, but it hurts when you say it. No, but you're right. I'm pretty wide open on my stance on this, and we want them to not think falsely that I sent someone out there to lobby on my behalf. I lobby on your behalf, and that's what we want to show, that this is organic. So giving you just I'm joking with these side stairs, by the way, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Hey, we lost everybody. Let's go.
We lost everybody. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on.
Bye.
Take care.